So if you apply exactly what I'm teaching you here, you'll never have to worry about clients ever again. Okay guys, so welcome to Digital Ignition Workshop, and basically today we'll be talking about how to attract more clients. This workshop is a really interesting one because what we'll be covering here today is a two-part series, a two-part video. The first one, I'll be talking about a lot of technical stuff that you guys need to do to attract more clients. And the second part will basically be a rapid fire section where I'm going to show you exactly the steps and the technical steps that you need to do to start basically automating your process and starting applying what I'm going to teach you here today. So when we talk about attracting more clients, you have two types of ways of attracting more clients. And the first question that we have when I say start attracting more clients is how. And to answer that question, there is two ways of attracting more clients. And the best analogy that I can give you is if you are a butterfly hunter. Now, being a butterfly hunter is really interesting because most butterfly hunters, because they know what they're doing, they grab a net, they run after the butterfly, and when they find the butterfly that they want, they catch it, right? And that is exactly how most people capture clients. And then there is one way that is the smart way of capturing a client. That is one way that is the smart way of capturing a butterfly. And that way is to build a garden. And on that garden, you have certain types of flowers that will attract that exact butterfly that you want. Now, there is one important thing here that I need to cover before anything. Even though when you create a garden, it's much easier to attract the butterfly, in that case to attract the client, it doesn't necessarily mean that creating that garden is easy. Hell, like one thing that I can tell you right now is that I live in a huge place, and just for you to have an idea, it's so big that I can have my company here in the same place and have the people that work with me in the same place that I live, and yet every single one of us have their own privacy. And one of the worst parts about this house is that we have a huge garden, and to take care of that garden, funny enough, is the hardest part of the house. Now, the cool part about that is once you have the garden created, then to maintain it, it's really, really easy. But sometimes it makes me wish that I'm just back in my one-bedroom apartment. And if you didn't notice now, this analogy of creating a garden and capturing butterflies, it applies to business. And the way that this applies to business is when you start building that garden, your clients will go after you. So if you apply exactly what I'm teaching you here, you'll never have to worry about clients ever again. But it doesn't mean that it's easy to create what I'm going to teach you here. Fortunately enough, there is two things that will help you to be there. And I'm going to talk about those things now. Okay, so what I'm going to teach you here today is exactly how to build that garden. Exactly how you can grab the concepts that I'm going to teach you, start building that garden, and start having the clients go after you and not the opposite. So there are two things in marketing, and the first one is attention and the second one is persuasion. Now, those two apply not only for marketing but for sales as well. The funny thing about that is that if you have attention, then you need a lot less of persuasion. And if you have persuasion, you can grab the clients, but again, you'll have the lack of attention, so to grab more clients will be much harder. So the first thing that we need to fix is how to get the attention. Let's be honest, attracting fewer attention and a high quality client, it's easy. Attracting a lot of attention and a low quality client, that's also easy. But attracting a lot of attention and a lot of high quality clients, that is where literally separates boys and girls from men and women. I know that this is a weird analogy, but it's true. When you can combine the attention and your persuasion, then most likely you'll be targeting the right clients and the clients that you really want, and also be attracting a lot of clients in a way that you can convert them. So we will start solving the first problem, that is how to get attention. Now, to get attention, you need to know where the attention is. And in today's age, the attention is on the digital. Literally, like you grab your phone is where your attention is. And if you don't believe me, it's really easy. Most of the time when I go to restaurants and stuff like that, it's funny because I see people dating and their eyes are on their phone and not actually interacting with each other. And one of the examples that I can give you is this image right here, and you can see that this guy is running this guy is running this ad on his billboard, and yet people are looking to their phones. So attention nowadays is on the digital, and there is a certain ways for you to start planting those flowers in the digital that will start attracting the type of butterflies that you want. And if you don't notice yet, when I talk about the flowers, I'm talking about content. What is the type of content that you can create to attract the type of clients that will actually matter to you? Now, this brings us on another theme that is extremely important, that is knowing who your client is. Now, a lot of you will say, well, my client is the one who pays. And I get that. When you are starting out your business, you'll be, my client is the one who pays because you want to grow your business. However, knowing who your client is from the beginning is much more important than having a client that simply pays. And one fun analogy that I like to use is actually a pretty weird one, but it works for you guys to understand. If you guys are going for a date, you will not get married to the first person that you see. You will try to find the exact person that matches you and that fits your lifestyle, your needs, right? So why should your client be the client that simply pays? And that brings us another problem. When you start planting that garden, you start noticing that first you are on that drive to capture the butterflies, right? But when you start building that garden, what will happen is you'll have so many butterflies there, they'll start to feel like a plague and then you can't get rid of them. So knowing who your butterflies are is extremely important. And to be honest, someone that buys a Bentley, for example, or someone that has the money to buy a Bentley, most probably will not buy a Volkswagen, for example, right? So knowing who your persona is plays a huge role in that sense. And that brings us to what is the type of flower that you should plant. And the thing that is the most important thing for you to do is to plant the exact plant that your client actually wants, is to create the type of content that your client is actually looking for. One example that I can give you right now is that, for example, all my clients are entrepreneurs. So if I'm creating a type of content that doesn't attract them, a content, for example, let's say that I'm talking about gaming. I know a lot of entrepreneurs like gaming as well, but knowing my persona that they are a much higher age than I am, if I'm creating content specifically for gaming and I want to sell something that is related to entrepreneurship to that person, then most probably what they have, the image that they have from me, is that I'm a gamer and I'm not an entrepreneur. So creating that type of content that your client is looking for, it's extremely important. And here is where the catch comes. Here is where the important thing comes. There are two ways of creating attention. Actually, there are three things that you can start breaking down. There are three things that you can start using to break down your content, to break down the flower that you are building. And the first one is entertainment. You can create a lot of entertaining videos and you can drive a lot of attention when it's entertainment. The other thing that you can do is connection, trying to connect with your audience. And the third thing is you can do information. Now, I'm not good as an entertainer. I'm literally the worst at trying to connect at a human level through the camera. So the best thing that I can do is give information. That is exactly what I'm doing right now. And for you to start to break down what your flower is, that is the first step that you need to choose. You want to be entertaining, you want to give information, or you want to try to connect with your audience. Now, there is one funny way, actually two funny ways, that you can start to do those three in a single type of content. Now, one thing that I want to break down real quick here is that most of you will start thinking, hey, I don't have the time to build that garden. I'm shy recording videos, and a lot of questions that you guys have regarding to how can I produce content. Well, my friends, let me tell you this. When you want to produce content, you don't necessarily need to create a video. Nowadays, you can create podcasts, for example, that is simply audio. And if you don't like talking, you have blogs that is simply writing. And you'll be saying, well, I don't like writing either. Nowadays, you have resources online that you can hire people to write for you. So you have no excuse to basically start building your foundation and building your grounds to start attracting your clients. Now, how to start attracting your clients? Well, in seduction, you don't have to force anything. You attract people. And literally, you go by the best analogy that I can give you here is a dating analogy. Because if you want to date someone, you will look specifically what you're trying to look on that person, what you're trying to get from that person. So to qualify your lead, you basically have two types of contents that you can create. And those two types of content are, the first one is opportunity, a really great opportunity. For example, one example that I can give you is, hey, I'm selling you a house that is a 4-bedroom house at the price of a 1-bedroom apartment, for example. That is a great opportunity, right? Because you know that 4-bedroom houses are way more expensive than a 1-bedroom house. But the one that I like to use the most, as funny as it will sound, is fear. And the reason that I like to use fear is because the human brain reacts to fear much faster than it does to opportunity. That is biological. That is something that you cannot change because our brain is programmed for survival. Now you're thinking, well, Carlos, what are you talking about? Let me explain. If I give you this example, that is, let's say that you have a lion in front of you, and next to you, you have a tree full of golden apples. Your first instinct, no matter how cool the golden apples are, your first instinct will be to run away from the lion that is trying to hunt you. So fear, our brains respond to fear. And how can you use that type of content to basically bring more clients? So one example is, for example, if you don't do this, then you'll never succeed, right? If you don't, let's see, encontrar exemplo. Or for example, 5 mistakes that you'll do that will make you go broke when you're buying your first house, for example. In the same space as real estate. Now, I'm not a real estate agent, so don't judge me. But in the same space as a real estate, the first one is an opportunity. Hey, I'm selling you a 4-bedroom. Oh, how to buy a 4-bedroom apartment at the price of a 1-bedroom apartment. And second one is you will completely go broke if you do these 5 mistakes, or 5 mistakes that will guarantee that you will go broke when buying your first house. So most likely you will click much faster in 5 mistakes than you will in the one that is an opportunity. And I have a portfolio of content that is basically those two different types of content. One is opportunity and the other one is fear. So knowing and learning to identify what is the fear of your persona, and that's again the reason that you need to know what is the butterfly that you are hunting, is because that persona will tell you what their fear is, will tell you what their fear is. And more than that, you'll start being able to produce way more content for that persona. Now, Carlos, I don't want to have just one persona. I want like 3, 4, 5 personas. That's completely fine. You can create different personas and create different content for different types of personas. But in a starting phase, when you're building your garden, you need to create one type of flower, attract that butterfly, create another type of flower that will attract the other butterfly, and then you can start building and expanding your garden. But don't let that stop you from start actually building your garden, because the mistake that most people do is, okay, I have 4 personas, I have 4 types of clients. If I attract one, I will not be attracting the other ones. You should focus on the one that is your priority first, and then from there start building the garden around that. Now another thing that is an issue is that people think that building, and I say that in the beginning, building a garden is not easy. So it's not what you're going to do in 1 week that will give you results. It's what you're going to do in 1 year or 2 years. And that is where most people fail, because people start building content, people start doing a lot of videos and blogs and stuff like that, and they do it for 1 week or 2 weeks, and then when they find that they are not getting results, then they just give up. So when you start publishing, when you start creating content for a set period of time, we will find 2 things happening. The first thing is you will have people asking you questions about what you are teaching them, and that is a way of you starting actually producing more content for that persona. You have because let's face it, when you are a professional in your area, and that happened to me literally today, when you are so used to do things, literally you go on autopilot on certain things, and sometimes people have questions regarding those things that for you are so simple to do that you forget that was once your problems as well. So when you read through those comments, you'll start getting way more content that you can then grab those comments and create content for your persona, and therefore generating a lot more content. So for you to start creating content, you need to literally, it's extremely easy, and here is where usually people fail. Grab a book like this and go to 100 mistakes that you did in your career, 100 questions that you had in your career, and most likely the exact people that you want to attract for your business, they have those exact questions. And when you start answering them, you start generating awareness. You start generating what it's called building a garden. You start creating those flowers that will literally start giving you a lot of attention. Now, when you start building that attention, it's one funny thing happened there is once you have a lot of attention, you put your phone number there, and a lot of people, like a lot of butterflies, will try to get in touch with you. And here is where you need to start knowing to filter who your real client is, because this is one thing that I can promise, and I told you in the beginning of this video that once you do what I'm teaching you here today, you will have literally clients running after you to try to work with you. Because let's face it, once you create awareness, once you get that attention, once you have the digital attention and you create that awareness, one thing starts happening, and you start generating authority. You start generating authority in your field. And once you start generating authority in your field and people start liking you and following you, one funny thing happened. People like to buy from famous people. Now, don't mistake me for 1 second. Let me just correct this 1 second here. You don't necessarily need to have fans or to have followers for this to apply. But what it will happen is, without you wanting that, without you working for that, that is automatically going to happen. You will be automatically start getting recognized because you are helping a lot of people. And once you start helping people, people start liking you and they start following you. Therefore, you start building that fan base. And once again, people like to buy from famous people. And here is the final bomb for this part of generating awareness and for generating attention. Most gurus that you see out there, online gurus, this is exactly what they do. For example, Gary Vaynerchuk, Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, they have, like all of them, they have one thing in common. And one thing in common only is they produce content that attracts the right butterfly that likes their content, and therefore they can convert those butterflies or those clients or those leads into clients. So the strategy that I'm giving right here is the exact strategy that generates millions of dollars per year for a lot of people. In fact, that is the exact strategies that I apply for my clients every single day that literally allow me to have a business that generates, hell, now it literally generates at least almost $1 million per year for my clients. So these are the exact strategies, and I know a lot of people that will underestimate how good this works and how well this works, but you can simply start looking to the digital gurus nowadays. And one example that I gave you earlier is Ty Lopez, for example. He did exactly this. He started with a video on his YouTube channel, and then he created a community that is his knowledge society. And from there, he just sells courses after courses, right? So when you start creating awareness, you basically have a lot of people, and again, you have attention. And once you have that attention, you have a lot of potential clients. Now, that's what I meant in the beginning when I said that having attention, you need a lot less of persuasion. Now, having attention and being able to have a high persuasion and a high attention and high persuasion is literally what separates the small players from the big players. And now I'm going to teach you exactly how you can start building that persuasion. Now, it's funny because you have the garden, right? You build your garden at this point. But if you don't maintain the garden, then it doesn't matter if you build a garden if you can't maintain it. If you need to literally put water and then take care of it and then cut it. That way you can maintain the beautiful garden and everything else. And I know that this garden analogy is getting a little bit old by now, but again, you need to know how to maintain that garden. And here is where the persuasion plays. There is one interesting fact that when you start having that persuasion, you'll find out that, and now I'm going to change the analogy a bit, you'll find out that when you have a tree of fruits, you have what it's called the low-hanging fruits. That is basically literally the fruits that you can go there, grab it, and then eat it, right? It's like it's right there. You just can grab it, and there you go. And a lot of times they're even on the floor, so you can even grab it from there. But then you have the middle section and the top section, and it's here where the persuasion plays. There are two concepts that I want to run through you real quick. And again, this is the same analogy as the tree. For you to understand better why persuasion plays a huge role here. So now you have all the attention you need. You need to learn how to convert that attention into paying customers, into literally new butterflies. So if you have that tree, you have the low-hanging fruits that are easier to take because they're literally there, you can just grab them. But there is one problem with the low-hanging fruits. Low-hanging fruits, they will eventually end up and you can't grab them anymore. Eventually, you will run out of low-hanging fruits. So having the persuasion, or in that case, the tools that you can climb and take the middle layer and the top layer is where separates the big players from the small players. And this is exactly what I'm going to teach you here today. To have an analogy in business, when you have the low-hanging fruits are literally those type of people that are desperate to buy your product. You just appear in front of them and they will want to buy from you. You have a few that are those that are literally desperate. That is the same, again, as in dating. That is the same as looking to the first person that is in front of you and marrying them. There are people that are just like so desperate that they'll find the first person, grab them, and then, yeah, it's you. I'm going to marry you and be with you forever. And then you have the people that maybe they, for example, they ended a relationship and they are not looking for dating, but if the right guy happens or the right girl happens to appear in front of them, then they can consider if they will stay with them or if they will marry them or not. And again, in business, translating that to business, you have people that not necessarily they know that they need your product, but at the same time, they don't think that is a priority, right? And then you have third layer of the tree. That is literally the final part of the tree. That is the part of the tree that you really need to have a way of climbing that tree to get that fruit. And that, my friends, that is where the big money is, because it's where you have a lot of fruits. Why that? Not every single person is trying to climb that tree to get that fruit. Now, low-hanging fruits, everyone can get those. Middle fruits, a few can, a few can't. Being able to climb that tree to the top of the tree and grab the top fruits, now that is where I say that it separates the big players from the small players. And the reason for that is the top fruits are the ones that don't know that they need your business, and in their mind they literally don't need your business, and you are trying to convince them that they need your business. So those top fruits right there are the clients that they don't know that they need your business, but once you show them that they need it, then they'll simply want to get that business. And the best example that I can give you here is, let's say that someone says that they don't need exercise, right? They don't need it. Literally, they are as healthy as they can and they don't need exercise until they go to a doctor and doctor say, hey, if you don't start running, if you don't start making walks, then you'll die in 2 months. And that is why creating those flowers and creating and knowing how to use persuasion will go in your favor. So how do you convert those fruits? How you can convert those top clients to be able to work with you? And here is where the play happens. Now, here's what happens most of the time. And in the low-hanging fruits, it works because literally anything that appears in front of them, they will buy. That's just how it is. They are desperate to get it. But for those top people, it's literally, I've been using dating analogies all this time. And again, it's because business and dating is really similar. And you'll understand why. If you are in a bar and you want to get a guy or a girl, you will go and the first thing that you need to do is talk to them, right? You'll start a conversation and start talking to them. That's the first contact that you'll have. You need to have that first contact. And that first contact there is your flower in the garden. And then after that, you need to give that person a way, or if they like you, they will give you their number, right? Let's say you have that conversation, you like them, they like you, and then you ask them for their number. Now, they will give you their number or not. And then after that, you go on the first date, and then on the second date, and then from there you can try to convert it to become your boyfriend or girlfriend. So what we're now here talking about is the top of the tree, those clients. And you need to understand this, is that those clients on the top of the tree, they're a little bit skeptical because they are the ones that need your product, but they don't know that they need it. So to convert them is a little bit different. Now, I was talking before about the analogy of being literally like dating. You need to gain that person's trust, go on a date, and then grab their phone number and so on. How you do that on digital? Now you have the attention already, right? To do that on digital is really easy. You have that flower first, and that flower is the thing that will answer a question. It's the flower that will spark that curiosity. And then, second, you need to have a way of getting that person number. And the best way that you can do that is by giving them content that they can apply. Now, a lot of people do ebooks or ebooks online that people can, in exchange for that ebook, they can download it, and then for them to download they need to give you their email. But here's the catch. If you ever downloaded an ebook, and now be honest with yourself, how many times you actually stopped and actually read that ebook? A lot of people create ebooks and try to convert and grab emails from that ebook, and trying to convert someone from an ebook that is a simple step to convert is much easier if you do what I'm about to teach now. So the first thing that you need to do is, when you create content, when you create a real content for that person, you need to create the type of content that will allow them to go from point A to point B. It's not from point A to point Z, because that is a long way to go. But if you teach that person one simple step that they can apply today or tomorrow, that will actually make them one step closer to their goal, then that is gold. That is where the conversion happens. That is where that person will start trusting you. Which brings us to another part of this. There is one thing that is really important that most people don't talk about, and that thing is psychological triggers. Now, I'm going to give you the 80-20 of psychological triggers because we literally are running out of time, and I don't want you to be sitting here for 2 hours. And here is where everything comes together. I've been talking about building a garden, and when you build that garden, you are building one of the psychological triggers, that is creating authority. You are literally becoming an authority in your field. You are literally becoming someone that people can trust. Once you give that person that content, that they really like that content and they can apply to their business and change their mind, change their business, and make them one step closer to their goal, you are building another type of psychological trigger, that is reciprocity. Now, human, as much as we try to say that we are not, humans are kind. And when you do something kind for someone, the percentage of people that we actually try to give it back to you, it's huge. Because when you give something that will really actually give something to that person, we actually, like I said, take them from point A to point B, that person will try to do something that will help you as well. And you are building that reciprocity. So now you have already 2 psychological triggers playing. And the third one, and is the one that literally is the psychological trigger that is one of the most powerful ones, is scarcity. And people want what they cannot have. That is just human nature. If you cannot have a Bentley and you really love cars and you really want a Bentley, then most probably you want that Bentley way more than someone that can afford that Bentley like this, right? So people want what they cannot have. And for you to create scarcity is really simple. It can start off with one simple step. That is, when someone calls you and tries to get a meeting with you, instead of you going like this, hey, I'm free in 1 hour, or hey, I'm free tomorrow, you can go like this, let me check my agenda and I'll get back to you and I'll let you know when I have time. Because now the narrative changes from I have free time, we can meet tomorrow, to hey, I'm a busy person, as you already know from watching my videos and watching all my content. I'm someone that is an expert in the field, therefore I have a lot of people working for me and working and trying to work with me, so you need to do things on my time. And once you set that tone down, then that people will want you even more, because you'll be, well, I cannot have him now, so they will not rest until they have the opportunity to talk to you and the opportunity to work with you. And that's how you build scarcity. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, let's go to the rapid fire section, where I'm going to give you everything in a few seconds. Now, so first thing, start creating content and building that authority. Start creating content that will drive people to your page. Start building content that will drive people to you. Then give that person value. Give so much value and so much content that they will start trusting you to the point that they can give you their email or their phone number. After that, you can start applying the psychological triggers. You can start applying scarcity, and you can start literally being able to grow your business and attracting more butterflies. More than that, another rapid fire session, I'm going to give you an example real quick on how you do that. First thing, start a YouTube channel, start a blog, start a podcast, anything that you can create content and drive people to that content. To drive people to that content, well, if it's YouTube, you have that YouTube page. If it's a blog, you have your blog page. If it's a podcast, you have your podcast page. The second thing that you should do is start driving traffic. Now, remember when I said that you need to know who your persona is? That plays a huge role here, because knowing who your persona is will allow you to drive the exact traffic that will capture that person's attention. So let's face it, if you stopped here on Facebook to watch that video, is because this video grabbed your attention, because it's an information that you are looking for, right? So when you create that type of content and that person sees that type of content, you can start driving them to those other sources of traffic. Once you do that, you need to have a landing page that will allow you to give that person something in exchange for their information. Either it being the email, the phone number, or whatever it is. In one good example that I can give you now is if you create a action plan that someone can download that PDF file, for example. For them to download that PDF file, they need to introduce their email and they need to introduce their phone number. Therefore, you are giving them something that will change their life, and then at the end, you'll grab their email. After that, you need to keep giving that person information. You need to keep the conversation going, because like I said earlier, it's not because you have that person number that means that you are going to date her or him. What you need to do here is go on a second date or on a third date, and what that means is you need to start giving that person content. And once you get that person information, once they download your PDF, you have all the information. That part there is the most important one that people usually forget, is to keep giving that person content that will allow them to trust you. And after that, you can ask for the sale. Now, I know that this seems a lot of process, and I have ways, or you have a lot of ways out there that you can reduce the time and have those processes going. I am a huge fan of having workflows working in your favor. Okay, so now here's the thing. We are at the end of our workshop, and it's a lot difficult, like it's really difficult to capture all this information and apply to your business. It's really, really hard to do it because most people get like their motivation goes down at the end. So my advice is plan things first, and like I said, have a workflow. Plan things, start publishing, and then drive traffic, right? And that's basically it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next workshops, videos, blog posts, or YouTube channel, you name it. And I don't know how to end the video. And that's it. After telling you that I don't know how to end a video, that's it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.